and welcome everyone to the Personal Development Forum, the first forum for the year 2025. It's a pleasure to meet you all here. It's nice to be moderating this event. My name is Munachika Awadinigwe. So while we're waiting for more people, I'll just begin, right? So it's a pleasure to be introducing our speaker. But before we introduce our speaker, I'd like to call on the relations, Madam Nkiru Ukachukwu, to just walk us through, for those of us that this is like our first time into the forum, to walk us through the objectives of this personal development forum. And then for those that have been here before, this kind of like a refresher. So please send those hearts and those applause emojis for Madam Nkiru Ukachukwu. Thank you.
Thank you, Munachi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nkiru Ukachukwu, the Alumni Director of Pan Atlantic University. I warmly welcome you all, alumni, staff, students of PAU, and our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Glory Enyinnaya. Please, let's give it up for her. I'm really excited about this forum. Yes, Father Kemi, I can see you. Yes, so it's my distinguished pleasure to welcome you to this Personal Development Interest Group Forum. So for us at Pan Atlantic University Alumni Office, we have a series of interest groups. It's a way of keeping us engaged, connected, and to continue learning. These interest groups are divided into 5. We have the creatives, investments, personal development. This is personal development, business and entrepreneurship, and socials. We tend to plan events along these lines to touch different people so that the events or the programs or the forums are not skewed to one group. So we have events on these lines. So if you're interested in any of these groups, please reach out to the alumni office. Let's see how we collaborate to make an interest group forum happen. The theme of today's interest group, which is under the personal development group, is the entrepreneurial mindset, thriving in every career path. Wow. So today, we gather to explore one of the most transformative approaches to our personal and professional growth in this era. You will all agree with me that entrepreneurial mindset is not reserved for business founders alone. No. It's a mindset that is characterized by innovation, resilience, and adaptability. Qualities that are essential to success in any field we find ourselves. These qualities, innovation, resilience, adaptability, they are very essential to any industry we find ourselves. So whether we're students, we have final year students here, an accountant, content creator, media personality, financial analyst, engineer, what have you. These traits empower us as individuals to see challenges as opportunities and to approach problems creatively, because that mindset helps us to see through whatever problems we have and to drive impactful change in our organization, in our communities, and in our businesses. So as we navigate this rapidly changing world, every day there are new things. Every single day there are new things, and this change is shaped by a lot of technology advancements, a lot of them, shifting economic landscapes, and the growing need for sustainable solutions. So developing this mindset is very, very important, and we can't overemphasize it. It equips us not only to survive, but to thrive. It's one thing that you're surviving, you're just above the water, but you're thriving is that you're moving to thrive in whatever path we choose. So to anchor today's talk forum, we'll be discussing with Dr. Glory Enyinnaya, partner Clays Advisory, who brings a wealth of experience. You don't want to listen to her profile when she reads it. This experience in entrepreneurial thinking across diverse industries. She's here to inspire us, share insights, and challenge us to embrace this mindset of our growth for the betterment of our society and ourselves. I encourage each and every one of us to participate actively, ask questions when it's time, engage in dialogue, and reflect on how we can apply these to our unique journeys. All of us are on different journeys. How do we apply what we've learned? That's the essence of the interest group, not just to sit and listen, but to apply what we've learned to our unique journeys. Once again, I welcome you all to this exciting forum. Together, let's unlock the potential of having an entrepreneurial mindset and envision new possibilities for thriving in every career path we've chosen. Thank you. Let's begin. You're welcome to this forum.
Thank you very much, Madam Nkiru. Thank you very much. So like she said, you should be very excited to have our guest speaker here. So when you think outstanding, you think Dr. Glory Enyinnaya. So Dr. Glory holds a first-class degree in accounting, an MBA from Lagos Business School, and a PhD in management from Pan Atlantic University, where she was a valedictorian for all 3. She has been recognized globally, including as one of the top 6 MBA students in the world and the first African to serve on the Beta Gamma Sigma governing board. Her professional journey spans renowned organizations like Accenture, Ernst & Young, and the World Bank, alongside partnerships with eScan Netherlands and Faster Capital. She's a certified business coach who contributes to global thought leadership through publications such as Harvard Business Review and international speaking engagements. Dr. Glory is the founder of Close Advisory Africa, a platform that has connected experienced consultants with African entrepreneurs, advised thousands of SMEs, and earned recognition from the Global MBA Association and the African Entrepreneurship Award. A passionate advocate for female empowerment, Dr. Glory actively supports initiatives like She Leads Africa and Flourish Africa. Her impact also extends to board roles with ACMP Nigeria, Dominican College, and Employ Africa. So I wasn't exaggerating when I said our guest speaker is outstanding. Her profile is already inspiring. Now imagine the valuable insights you gain at today's Personal Development Forum. So ladies and gentlemen, please click on those hearts and applause as I warmly welcome Dr. Glory Enyinnaya.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So this is a practical example of having an entrepreneurial mindset. I'm sure everybody remembers when WhatsApp was down for like 2 hours or thereabouts, and the whole world was in pandemonium. But as an entrepreneur, you just have to understand that life happens, and you have to roll with the punches. Clara has done a great job of introducing me, so I'll skip this and pass the baton over to you. So if you can type in the chat, let me get to know who I'm speaking with. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me your name. Type in your chat your name, what you do, the name of your organization, where you're located, and then how strong do you consider your skills in career development? Are you at the beginner stage? Maybe you just graduated, or you're a final year student. Are you intermediate, or are you advanced? Maybe you have 30 years experience, and this is just a refresher. And then finally, what do you want to get out of today's session? I guess we can just proceed and bearing in mind our time constraints, let's just go into what we're doing today, which is teaching you how to become the CEO of your own career. Not many of us may have the privilege of being the CEOs of our organizations, but believe me, you are the CEO of your own career. And so you need to start by discovering your strengths, asking yourself, okay, what am I good at? What are my areas of strength? And then identifying your areas of improvement and sharing these with the world. You're a light that should be set on a hill and should not be hidden. And so to be the CEO of your career, you need to, first of all, know yourself, know thyself, and then prepare to share those strengths with the world through personal branding, content creation, social proof, networking, and so on. So this is part of what we're going to discuss today. Okay, all right, so I can see some people sharing in the chat. Okay, Kaka Amoni manages PR and events for Coronation Group based in Lagos. You're welcome, Kaka. Okay, Folakemi Ogungbe is a senior lecturer at PAU, intermediate experience in entrepreneurship, relearning and unlearning. You're so welcome. Thank you, Folakemi. Okay, Munachi, dear host, is interested in corporate communication, lives in Lagos and at the intermediate level. She would love to learn how to market her skills without shortchanging herself. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'd like to ask a question. Who is an entrepreneur? Who do we think an entrepreneur is? I know we know the popular ones: Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. These are people that are global superstars. But how about the small business owner, someone that owns a bakery, the restaurant owner, person that owns a boutique? What do all these people have in common? Who's an entrepreneur to you? Okay, all right. So while we wait for the responses, an entrepreneur is many things. So it's almost like the fable of 7 men that were trying to describe an elephant from different perspectives. So depending on how you look at it, an entrepreneur is a change agent. That's actually my favorite definition of a change of an entrepreneur. I see an entrepreneur as a change agent, someone that brings about positive change into society. Because if you think about transformational businesses like Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, they've changed the way the world works. You can imagine how cumbersome the process of hailing a taxi was before Uber came around, and then now it has been transformed through technology and entrepreneurship, or even social media. Imagine life without social media. These days, so many of us almost live our lives online, thanks to, it has pros and cons, but for better or for worse, they've changed the way the world works. So Airbnb or Flutterwave, these are unicorns, but they're also companies that have had a transformational impact on society. So my favorite definition of an entrepreneur is someone who changes the world through their innovations. An entrepreneur is an innovator, so they bring about new ideas into society. He's a value creator, someone that creates value. He's a people developer, a business operator, a leader, an advocate, a champion. And interestingly enough, if you look at it, you can actually do all these things while working in a 9 to 5. You don't necessarily have to, even though the traditional definition of entrepreneurship is someone who turns an idea into a business, or someone who relentlessly pursues opportunity. Who says there's no opportunity where you're working? There's a ton of opportunity to lead, to advocate, to champion initiatives. And so today we're going to focus on how you can apply your entrepreneurial mindset to your jobs, your 9 to 5, and act as a business owner, or act with an owner's mindset. So to do that, we're going to engage in a bit of introspection, self-assessment, personal assessment. I shared this with us, and I see 18 people have filled it, but there are about 27 of us on the call. So we have, almost, we still have almost half of the room is yet to fill this form. So it's really important, because for you to be able to apply what we're going to learn, you need to know where you are. It's like establishing a baseline. It's almost like a diagnostic. You need to know your strengths and weaknesses as an entrepreneur, so that as I'm discussing and explaining what the different traits of entrepreneurs are, you'll know the areas you need to work on and the areas you already have an edge in. So I will once more. Okay, I think Clara, please, can you help to reshare that link while I implore that the rest of us take. It's not very long. It's about 5 minutes or less. So if you can please take out the time to fill out that form, so that we can have a bit of self-awareness going into this talk. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Okay, so now, while you're filling the form, and for those that have actually filled it before now, so this is the key to interpreting the results. So if you scored between 1 and 10, then you're an emerging entrepreneur, meaning you're still developing entrepreneurial potential and skills. If you scored between 11 and 20, you're an operator. So you're an efficient manager who keeps your business running smoothly. If you scored between 21 and 40, you're a strategist. So meaning you're like a planner, you can plan and execute an initiative, and you can bring ideas to life. While the people that scored 41 to 50 they're already innovators. They're visionary leaders that actively create unique solutions. Okay, so can we type in the chat? Looking at this key, can we share, if you feel comfortable, sharing what category we fall into? Just type it in the chat. Okay, so Amoni is a strategist. Great. Okay, Olakem is a strategist. Great. Clara is a strategist. Okay, there are 22 responses now. The average score is actually 32.23 from what I can see. We have a 49. So I can imagine the 49 person with 49 is probably 1 foot in the probably runs the business. We have a CEO with us, so he may be the one. Mr. Ayo, who Ayo runs a microfinance bank. You're very welcome. So Mr. Ayo probably had 49. I stand to be corrected. Okay. Oscar leads a team running a media company across 3 states, and is a professional MC and the president of the PA Alumni Association. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, so for those of you that so he just joined. Clara, please, can you reshare the link? He's asking. Okay, for those of you that just joined, we're assessing ourselves based on where we are in terms of our entrepreneurial acumen, and finding out where we fall, so that as we go through the talk, we can apply what we're learning to our own circumstances. Okay, so again, I'm looking at the results. Very few people on the average, very few people answered agree that they're not afraid of the limelight. In fact, I think that's one of the challenges that most people have, not afraid of the limelight. Only 6 people accepted that they are. I make contacts quickly, only 7 people. I use social media effectively, wow, only 5 people. Okay, we should have another session on personal branding and LinkedIn optimization. From the looks of it, it will be highly appreciated, because most people don't think they use social media effectively. Okay. I like to be in control, very few people. Okay. I study my organization's competitors, fewer people. I delegate, about half of us. I'm competitive, about half of us. So some of these words are actually ethically troublesome. I'm sure some of you will see competitive. They're not the sign of pride, So we're here to deconstruct some of these words and show they're not as negative as they might seem, at first glance, and you can actually get to improve. So let's start with the first one: need for achievement. Need for achievement. I think this is a psychologist. Okay, so first of all, let me take a few steps back and tell you the origin of this assessment. So there's a There's someone called Dr. Martin Driesen in the Netherlands. If you listen to my profile, you find my company has a partnership with him, with his company. He runs a company called Entrepreneurial. So he did his doctorate in entrepreneurship and identified what are the traits that make people successful as business owners. And then based on this, he created a company called Entrepreneurial. And the scan, I mean, it's amazing. It allows you assess yourself, like a psychometric test that allows you to assess yourself. And then he provides coaching, to help you close the gaps between where you are and where you want to be. So so like I said, I have a partnership with this company, and then that's the origin of this assessment. So it's actually scientifically proven, it's verified, it's research backed. It's not just something that we pulled out of Google. So, and then later on, I'll tell you if you want to work more closely with Dr. Martin's company to enhance your entrepreneurial acumen, I can share tips on how to do that. Okay, so without further ado, let's go right into it. So the first is need for achievement. Need for achievement. So someone that has a strong need for achievement is purposeful, sets goals, is ambitious and aims high, is competitive and has a drive for success, is driven to succeed. So let me see how we did with that one. Okay, most people agree that they are purposeful. And okay, so let's see how these traits play out in a business as well as in an entrepreneur as well as in an intrapreneur. In case I didn't mention it earlier, an intrapreneur is someone that works in an organization as an employee but functions with an entrepreneurial mindset. So if you're on this call, you're either going to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, and either way, I'm going to show how we can apply these traits to be more successful in our career. So an entrepreneur would show that he's purposeful by creating a vision for their business and breaking it down into achievable milestones. So for example, if you're an entrepreneur, perhaps you're launching an e-commerce store and you're setting a goal of achieving 5 million naira in sales in 6 months. So that's being purposeful. As an entrepreneur, so maybe an example of this would be you're a product manager in a tech company and you're setting a goal to increase user retention by 20% in 2025. And you want to do this by introducing new features or improving the customer experience. So essentially, in both ways, you can be purposeful, but the difference is just your context. Okay, this is the beginning of the year. I'm hoping all of us have set our 2025 goals. I'm sure if you work in PA, you must have gotten the email from the head of HR reminding us about performance appraisal. So if you consider yourself entrepreneurial, this is one thing that you definitely will not sleep on. You'll be motivated by the purpose of by the process of setting goals. And then secondly, so sometimes it's not just enough to set goals. You also need to also need to aim high. So that's where being ambitious comes in. So an entrepreneur thinks big and aims to disrupt entire industries or create a significant social impact. So for instance, you're an entrepreneur, you build an edtech platform and you say, I'm going to reach 1 million students in underserved communities in 3 years. I mean, that's amazing. My company recently partnered with Access Bank and the Office of the Vice President to train 4 million entrepreneurs in 4 years. So those huge numbers are typical of entrepreneurs. They usually think of how to make impact on a large scale. However, thinking big and being ambitious is not just limited to entrepreneurs. If you work in an organization as an intrapreneur, then you can exercise your ambition by aspiring for leadership roles or leading high stakes projects. So maybe you're in marketing, for instance, and then as a marketing professional, you can design, why don't you make 2025 the year you design a global campaign to expand your company into 5 new markets? I mean, maybe your company has so far just been in Nigeria. Why don't you lead the charge to open new locations in 5 new markets, thereby increasing market share by 30%. So in this way, you're still in your company, you're still an employee, but you're showing traits of ambition. The third way you can show need for achievement is by being competitive. And as an entrepreneur, I mean, competition is literally the name of the game. You need to benchmark your company against your competition and constantly strive to outperform them in one particular niche. I mean, think about it. If your company is not distinguishing itself in terms of quality, customer experience, or market share, why should anybody patronize you? I mean, you might as well just close shop and go back home. So as an example of this would be a startup founder that monitors competitors' pricing and then launches a premium product with a better pricing model so I can capture customers. That's for business owners. As an employee, how can you be competitive? Some roles, to be fair, some roles are more amenable to internal competition than others. And when I say competition, it's I want to say friendly competition. Competition should not be so fierce as to inspire enmity in a company. Of course, you can have friendly competition. Your best friend can be your best competitor. Your competitor. And like I said, as an employee, the way you show need for achievement by competition is to set high goals. So, for example, if you're in sales, You can set out to be the top performing salesperson in your company. It's possible. I mean, if you don't dream it, you can't achieve it. So it's not just enough to set the goal to be the top performing salesperson, but also implement sales strategies and secure huge deals. I mean, what's good for your career should be good for the company, or what's good for the company should be good for your career. So you can show your, like I said, with you can do this with refinement. You can do this with charm. You can do this with in a sporting spirit. Yes, in a sporting spirit. It's just like people that run for Olympics or compete for, for gold. Why don't you go for gold in your career? So that's a way of being entrepreneurial, even as an employee. And finally, hunger. This is not the hunger of the Sustainable Development Goals type of hunger. It's a drive for success. That's a menace that has to be eradicated. I like a phrase that was popularized by Steve Jobs. He said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And that was the advice he gave Stanford graduates at their commencement before he died. He said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." What makes you, have you ever thought, some people are billionaires, like they have more money than they could ever spend, and they're still striving. Elon Musk is trying to get us to the moon. So don't you sit down and wonder sometimes, what kind of ambition is that? Like literally, if he were to stop working for the rest of his life, the kind of money he has made, even his descendants cannot finish spending it. But he continues to relentlessly pursue success, making personal sacrifices, staying up late, and working long hours to grow his business. So an example of this is a founder of a food delivery app that stays up late nights, negotiating partnerships with restaurants and attending events, and refining his app based on feedback. As a business owner, you can also do this. Nothing irks me. I run a business, I have some staff. Nothing irks me more than asking someone to work the occasional weekend, and they're like, "That's not my job description." That phrase should be very far from anyone that claims to be an entrepreneur. You need to be able to go beyond what your JD says. So for instance, if you're a software developer, don't just be content to do, for instance, if you're a software developer and they ask you to use Python language, why don't you learn new languages and develop breakthrough features that can increase user satisfaction? This will go a long way in positioning you for the promotion that you want. Okay, so that's about need for achievement. Okay, then there's need for autonomy. Need for autonomy means you act independently, you think independently, you take independent decisions, and you're a self-starter, so you have little need for other people's approval. So let me see how we did. Okay, most people said they can act independently when the occasion demands. About 80% said they have a mind of their own and they don't follow the crowd. Okay, so I think we did well here. Okay, we did well here mostly. So how does need for autonomy look for an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur? So as an entrepreneur, of course, the buck stops with you. You can't if your company fails, you're going to be judged and rather harshly for that matter. So you need to take complete ownership of your business operations, managing everything from strategy to execution without external oversight. So if you identify a gap in the market, you go for it without waiting to get permission. As an intrapreneur, you can do the same thing. You can demonstrate autonomy by driving projects without always, looking over your shoulder or who's going to supervise you or who's going to correct you and waiting for directives. In fact, there's a case study of Southwest Airlines. If you've flown Southwest Airlines in the US, you'll realize that some routes they use what they call ticketless travel. So they've done away with tickets, traditional tickets. And the story has it that employees of Southwest Airlines conceived of this idea because they're at the bottom of they're on the front lines and they see how cumbersome sometimes this thing of printing tickets could be. They conceived the idea, they discussed it, they ran with it and implemented it. So to a large extent without even getting without waiting for directives from senior management. Of course, Southwest Airlines is not just any other company, so that may not work everywhere. But the reality is, if you're going to work as an entrepreneur, you need to show autonomy and do things without always waiting to be told. Also, part of need for autonomy is thinking independently, so challenging conventional thinking. I can tell. So for those of us that work in HR, I'm sure this work from home thing must have been an unconventional solution at first, but some people decided to give it a shot. So even when traditional policies favored in-office attendance, some people made the business case to leadership and said, why don't we try working from home? And it's worked and it's been adapted across different organizations. Okay, so they're also taking independent decisions. So as a business owner, of course, you should have the spirit of initiative to even pivot your business model, even beyond what your investors want sometimes. As an employee, as an entrepreneur, you can also, provided what you're doing aligns with your company strategy. So you also need to be strategic when you're trying to be autonomous in an organization. So you need to have a clear view of where the company is heading. But it's possible the people at the top, they don't have a bird's eye view of your work. So it's possible you realize, okay, maybe you're in marketing, for instance, and then you say, okay, why don't we run an ad campaign targeting a new demographic? And then you run it. always without, you don't always have to wait for approval from the board or leadership, or as long as, like I said, what you're doing aligns with company strategy, and they might have missed it because they don't have your perspective, you can go for it. And then finally, being a self-starter. So many first-time entrepreneurs, it was in the olden days, self-publishing had some kind of stigma. So if you're publishing a book, most people went with traditional publishing houses. But one day, if people said, why do we have to wait for Wiley or Paul Grade? Those publishers are still very good for those of us in academia. But a few entrepreneurs took the bold step of publishing their own work and creating a marketing strategy for their books, and learning by trial and error, and it has succeeded for them. So at the same time, how do you do this as an employee? So let's say you're a software developer, you're in IT, and you notice that one of your products has a bottleneck in their deployment. You could write a script to automate the process and reduce delays, even without waiting to be told. You don't always have to wait to just be told to do everything. Like I said, even when something is outside your job description, as long as it aligns with the big picture of what your organization is trying to achieve. That's the need for autonomy. Okay, so the third is need for power. I like to be in control, 40%. Okay, I'm looking at the responses. Only 40% of people like to be in control. I have the ability to influence others, is 60%. I'm not afraid of the limelight, 30%. Wow. So public speaking, yes, I think I heard a long time ago that most people are more afraid of public speaking than even of dying. Like they would literally rather die than speak in public. So it seems that from the responses, most people are afraid of the limelight and persuasive. Only half of us think that they are persuasive. Okay, so let's look at sorry, I'm trying to find my screen. Okay, how need for power plays out as for a business owner and for an employee. So a business owner likes to be in control. Obviously, that's most people, when you ask them why they started their own business, they say, because I want to be my own boss. So as a business owner, you need to take ownership of every aspect of your business and thrive on being in charge. As an employee as well, you can seek control over projects and initiatives. You can volunteer for leadership roles. You can lead without a title. Who says you have to be the head of department before you take initiative in your organization? If you're aware of best practices in an area of your domain, you can make the suggestion. Why don't we implement this new tool, this new process? Why don't we redesign the team workflow? As long as, like I said, as long as it's in line with international best practices. Then ability to influence other people. Of course, you can't be an entrepreneur if you can't inspire people, because whether you're getting employees to join your company, whether you're inspiring investors to invest or customers to buy your products, you're always communicating, always talking. So as an employee, you can also leverage your influence to gain support for new ideas or projects in an organization. So for instance, AI is one of the new buzzwords in this part of the world, and has been for the past 1 or 2 years. So ask yourself, how can AI drive efficiency in my job? How can it reduce costs? How can it improve efficiency? In the entrepreneurial world, of course, business owners have, taken AI to town, creating new businesses and all that. But many of us are still a bit reluctant about introducing AI into the way we work. So if you're in IT, why don't you rally your colleagues and senior management to adopt a new AI tool? And in the end, if it reduces cost and improves efficiency, then good for you. Then this bit about being unafraid of the limelight. As an entrepreneur, you have to embrace public speaking, media attention, networking opportunities to be able to position your business as a market leader. So you see CEOs speaking at industry conferences, showcasing their expertise and building their brands. How can you do that as an employee? As an employee, you should be willing to step into the spotlight in your company by presenting your ideas to senior management, or by representing the company externally, depending on what is possible for you. If there's a high profile pitch to a potential client, if you practice really well and you're confident in your skills, why don't you volunteer, to lead that pitch or support the pitch? If you're in marketing, this is very possible because marketing is usually responsible for engaging new clients. So you can lead a high profile pitch to potential clients, confident in your ability to deliver results. Then also being persuasive. Being persuasive is also part of the need for power. As a business owner, you need to be able to convince people to buy into your vision, whether you're securing funding, selling products, or recruiting top talent. But as a business or as an employee, your key stakeholders are usually the leadership team, whether your departmental leadership or your organizational leadership. So if you're in finance, for instance, why don't you pitch? You can do your research, find out new systems and processes, and then pitch them to your leadership team and use data one of the keys to persuading people is being data driven. You can't argue with facts. So use data to prove how the system you're suggesting will save as much as 20% on annual expenses, and you'll be surprised, how many people you can win over to your point of view. Okay, so I don't know. I'll pause now and ask. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, you can drop your questions in the chat, and then Clara will probably take notes, and then we'll take them at the end. Okay, Clara, how are we doing with time? How much more time do we have?
So we have a little less than 20 minutes.
Okay, so that's about halfway. So about halfway. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, then social orientation. So social orientation is the flip side of being competitive. You can be competitive and collaborative at the same time. I believe in business it's called co-opetition. Competition is when you cooperate with your competitor. So social orientation means you focus on other people, you leverage your network to get things done, make contacts quickly, and then you use social media. So let's see how that plays out for entrepreneurs and business owners and employees. Sorry, entrepreneurs and employees. Okay, so like I said, as an entrepreneur, you need to focus on others. You can't be so hell-bent on your own perspective that you don't understand your customer pain points, you don't solve people's problems. Very soon you go out of business. So an example would be a health tech business owner who creates an affordable telemedicine platform to address the lack of healthcare access in rural communities. So that's for business owners. They solve customer pain points. And believe me, in Africa, we have a lot of problems. So really, the country should be teeming with successful entrepreneurs. Because when you look everywhere, infrastructure is down. There's so much poverty, insufficient education. There's so many pain points. So as an entrepreneur, if you're alive to problems, you should be able to leverage this social orientation to make a difference. But that's not just for entrepreneurs, for employees as well. Ask yourself, okay, how can you ensure that the organization's initiatives benefit your colleagues? So maybe you're a project manager and a new project has been initiated. You need to be able to ask yourself, look out for your team. Ask yourself, how does this affect my team's current workload? Don't let them be overburdened. And when necessary, negotiate with other departments to ensure smooth project execution. Also, okay, leveraging your networks. There's a popular saying, your network determines your net worth. So as a business owner, you need to use your contacts, your personal and professional networks to find investors, to find customers and strategic partners. So for instance, if you're the founder of a food startup, you can secure a distribution deal by leveraging contacts that you met at industry events. But as an employee, how can you tap into internal and external connections to get buy-in for your projects? So let's say you're a business, an example that comes to mind is, let's say you're a business analyst, you can collaborate with peers in other departments to gather data and then build support for a company-wide digital transformation initiative. People usually look at, sometimes digital transformation initiatives often engender resistance because people are like, this software now is going to take my job. But as an entrepreneur, you can use your connections and your networks to drive this project and get buy-in for them. And in that way, you're acting like a business owner. Then you can also make contacts quickly. Learn how to make contacts quickly. There's this new concept of speed networking. You literally it's a skill you have to practice, but the more you practice, the better you get at it. So as a business owner, business owners are constantly at industry meetups, online forums, networking events to grow their business opportunities. As an employee as well, you can, so if you're in sales, for instance, you're a sales manager, you can foster a strong relationship with your company suppliers and then negotiate faster delivery schedules, which makes it which makes your company's products more available. So like I said, you don't just need to remain only within your circle or within your own department, but you can work across departments often to speed up project timelines and get support. And social media, okay, like I said, this is one of the ones that most people looking at the assessment. Okay, I focus on building positive relationships, 80% of people. I leverage my network, 60%, so that's good. I make contacts quickly, 30%. I use social media effectively. Only 8 of us believe that they use social media, 8 out of 33. And we are the intelligentsia, or like the most of the people in this room, are the enlightened ones. So you can see there's so much room for improvement in terms of using social media. As a business owner, entrepreneurs use social media to build their personal brand, their business brand, to attract customers and generate leads. So for instance, if you're in fashion, you can use TikTok videos to showcase your latest designs and attract followers. But even I like to think of one of my most transformational moments using LinkedIn was when a single LinkedIn post I made got me one of the board appointments that I mentioned in my profile. So I posted something on LinkedIn. It caught the attention of the CEO of a multinational in the US, and she sent me a request asking me to join their board. And they want diversity. They want to hear more from countries outside the US, and they pay for me to travel to the US twice a year, all expenses paid, flying first class and so on, all from LinkedIn. A single post on LinkedIn. And I don't think I post as much. Even I know I don't post as much as I want to. So you can just imagine there's so much latent potential that one can get from using LinkedIn wisely and social media wisely. So even if you don't even want to post about yourself, maybe you're trying to be reticent, or you can use social media to promote your company's initiatives, follow your company's social media channels, repost whatever they're posting, or you can use to build your personal brand as a thought leader in your field. Do you work in procurement? Post about procurement. Do you work in HR? Post about HR. Do you work in communications? Be known as a thought leader in that field, and that will end up boosting your reputation and also improving your company's reputation in the market. Okay, so that's social orientation and self-belief. For me, this is one of the critical elements of success generally. I mean, there's a saying, whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're right. So your thoughts they become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you think you can do something, you're right. If you think you cannot do it, you're also correct. So why don't you choose to believe that you can do it? So looking at the comments or the answers, okay, 73% of us are self-confident. That's good. 76% of us believe we can influence outcomes positively. Okay. 90% of us believe that success doesn't happen by chance or through planning and hard work. That's good. I know my strengths. Okay, only 76 of us. Okay, so there's room so self-belief is a good one for us, but there's room for more self-awareness, obviously, and I mean, these days there's so many tools there's the Myers-Briggs personality test, there's Strengths Finder, there's 16 personalities. The more you know your strengths, the more confident you are in deploying them when the occasion arises. Okay, so under self-confidence, how does that play out for business owners and employees? So if you're a business owner and you're not confident, the marketplace will send you packing. Confidence is what makes people take risks, sell their ideas, and handle failures without losing momentum. So, I mean, you can imagine as a founder, you're on Dragon's Den, or you're on Next Titan, and you're pitching your startup to a skeptical panel of investors, and you continue to believe in your product even when they reject you. Like, one of the most difficult, that's why people usually, celebrate a lot when founders raise venture capital funding. If you know the hard work that went into raising that $1 million or $2 million, most times they pitch, they're rejected by hundreds of VCs, and they keep on pushing. Okay, so this touches a bit on resilience, but confidence is also part of it. Okay, so how does that play out in the organization? If you have self-confidence, then you can introduce innovations in your organization, even in conservative environments. So let's say you're a product manager, for instance, and there's a feature on your company's product that you've analyzed. You've done the analysis, and you're like, this thing will improve user engagement. So even though it has not been tested formally, why don't you can pitch it to your boss or supervisor or your leadership team, and just take that plunge. What's the worst that could happen? They'll say no. It's not the end of the world. And if they say yes, then you've made impact, and you've made a difference. Okay, then there's high locus of control. So what this means is, do you think when good things happen or bad things happen, do you attribute them to your personal efforts or fate or destiny? So as a business owner, business owners believe that their actions have an impact and makes them proactive. So for instance, let's say you're an entrepreneur and there was a disruption in supply chain. Instead of blaming external factors and saying, this country, Nigeria, I'm going to relocate, immediately, someone that has a high locus of control will immediately start negotiating with local suppliers, and trying to find a workaround. The same thing in your company. Let's think of something that is quite common in organizations, budget cuts. So what if they cut your budget? You're a team lead and finance has come and said, no, sorry, we're going to have to slash your budget. Are you creative and trying to find a way to still meet your project goals, even despite all these ups and downs? That has to do with taking responsibility and having a high locus of control. Okay, then also not believing in chance. I mean, there's a place for serendipity, but most times success can be traced to hard work, preparation, and strategic decisions. I think that there was a saying, success is what happens when opportunity meets hard work, right? So as a tech founder, you can't just hope that your app will go viral. Hope is not a strategy. You need to invest in targeted digital marketing campaigns and research. So as an employee, it's the same thing. You can't wish your way to the C-suite or the corner office. You need to have a strategy, and you need to execute that strategy to get the right results. So for instance, if you're in sales, as a sales executive, you need to practice your pitch, create a tailored pitch, and practice it relentlessly instead of just relying on a chance meeting to close the deal. So you need to be proactive. Okay, then also knowing your strengths is important. Business owners focus on their core skills while delegating tasks that other people can do better. So, for instance, if you're a founder and you're skilled in product design, for instance, you can hire a CFO to manage finances and then a CMO to handle marketing. So that way, you're being you're focusing on what you do really well, which is innovation. So, as an employee, the same thing can play out. You can leverage your strengths to drive innovation in the organization. So, for instance, if you're a data scientist, for instance, or you're really good at storytelling, you can create visually compelling dashboards that influence executive decisions. And all this is mainly possible when you know what you're good at and you're willing to put these strengths to use. Okay, then another trait is endurance. Okay, let's see how we responded in the assessment. So I can bounce back from failures and setbacks, 90% of us, very good. I'm consistent and reliable, slightly less, 60%. I'm disciplined and focused, 60%. I adopt a long-term view, 79%. Okay, so resilience, because we live in Nigeria and we'll be deviled with the ups and downs on a regular basis. But yeah, so it seems to have a rather resilient bunch in the room. Okay, so how does this play out for business owners and for employees? So a business owner is someone obviously that, okay, I think there was someone that once said that being an entrepreneur means having to choose between bad and worse on a daily basis. So failures and challenges, they're often setbacks, but these setbacks are learning opportunities rather than defeat. So as a restaurant owner, imagine you own a restaurant, for instance, and then you come to work one day and there's been a fire, and your restaurant has been razed to the ground. What will you do? You just go and say, you know what, I've tried my best. Then you dust off your CV and start looking for a job? Or are you going to use social media to rally support from your community and open bigger and better? I think it was Thomas Edison that said, I haven't failed 100 times, I've only learned 100 ways that won't work. So you have to change the way you view failure, in order for you to persevere through hard times. Okay, so it's the same thing could happen if you're an employee and there's internal resistance for maybe you're championing a new project, for instance, and then you get rejections from management. Are you going to persevere, or are you going to just give up? If you persevere, you might find that it's on your third or fourth presentation that you finally get the approval you want, and then it's a win-win situation for everyone. Then another trait is consistency. You have to be good. You have to be good all the time by delivering value repeatedly, whether it's to your customers, to your employees, or to your partners. So an example is an e-commerce entrepreneur that maintains consistent product quality. This kind of person is likely to get a lot of customer loyalty, repeat customers, and positive reviews. But you can imagine if the site is such that it works today, doesn't work tomorrow, there's forever downtime. People are often experiencing what I ordered versus what I got. So in that situation, that business is not likely to thrive. So also in your organization, what are you known for? Are you known as a dependable person? What's your reputation? Do you consistently perform at your best level, or does your performance vary with the moon? So sometimes you're reliable and sometimes you're not. So being consistent is part of what it is to have an entrepreneurial mindset. There are no days off when you're pursuing excellence. I mean, not literally. Obviously, you take holidays, but yes, you always need to be in a position to always meet deadlines and commitments. Okay, then there's discipline as well. As a founder, there's some tasks that you have to do on a daily basis, or else business will fail. So whether it's reviewing your finances, whether it's meeting with key team members, whether it's improving your product, if you don't do these things on a daily basis, your business will eventually go off track. So as an entrepreneur, as an employee as well, how disciplined are you in your role? It's possible that maybe you sent an email to the organization that you're going to start a company-wide training. Do you ensure that schedule is followed, to the last letter, or do you give up too easily and give excuses when maybe the budget is cut, or there are some challenges? Okay, then also taking the long-term view is very important. As a business owner, you need to think of the long-term view of your business. So most business owners in the early stages of their business, they don't take a large salary. Rather, all their profits, they reinvest them back into the business. So as an employee as well, you might find that you're in a position that you have to introduce initiatives that won't be profitable immediately, but in the long run they'll be successful, and so you need to be able to take that long-term view to make your career in that organization successful. Okay, Clara, how are we doing with time?
So we have 7 minutes to 7.
Okay, should we pause? Okay, well, I think I have about do we have any questions in the chat so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I shall continue then. Okay, so in terms of risk taking, let's see how we responded. Okay, I'm willing to accept losses and learn from failure, 85%. I can tolerate uncertainty well, 52%. I take calculated risks, half of us, 55%. Okay, so we're not necessarily about half of us don't see ourselves as risk takers, but as I say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So in the business world, entrepreneurs are willing to accept short-term losses as part of the growth process. So they believe that I'm aware of someone that started a business, and in the first 6 months of operations kept on offering steep discounts to build brand awareness. So people asking him, what are you doing? He said, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I'm sacrificing profit. I'm willing to take a loss now to establish a loyal customer base. So that's seeing the long-term view. As a business owner, as an employee as well, it's possible. So for instance, maybe you're a product manager and you're investing time and budget into testing a new feature. So the feature may fail, right? But the lessons that you've learned will be valuable for future improvement. So you need to be able to say, okay, I can take losses in the short term, but I'll keep my eye on the long term and see how this can pan out in the future. Also, being able to cope with uncertainty, navigating unpredictable markets and external challenges is also a key part of being an entrepreneur. An employee would cope with uncertainty. So, for instance, assuming in your organization, in your department, there's been a reallocation of resources. As an entrepreneur, you should be able to communicate this with stakeholders effectively and keep the project moving. Other aspects of risk taking include being tolerant of ambiguity. So as a fintech founder, the way this plays out for business owners is that even if they're not really sure how the market is going to receive their product, they keep on pushing. And you can do the same as an employee by working on proposals, even when you're not really sure how well it's going to be accepted by management, but essentially still taking that risk, to try and create value. So that has to do with risk taking. Market awareness. Okay, so this has to do with understanding your customers, the needs of your organization's customers. How many of us put ourselves in the CEO's seat and ask ourselves, okay, what are the needs of my company's customers? You could also ask, okay, what do competitors want? What are competitors doing? From time to time, it can be enlightening to engage in industrial espionage or competitor analysis. So you can look at your organization's competitors and benchmark what your company is doing against them, and asking yourself, how can I create additional value? How can my company differentiate itself from its competition? You can also try to understand your company's industry better, and understand how your company is positioned in that niche. Okay, then there's creativity, using your imagination to envision solutions to problems that others have overlooked, or playing with ideas, trying to brainstorm and come up with innovative approaches to solve different problems at work. Okay, so this is how it plays out for business owners and employees. As a business owner, you should be willing to experiment, by running pilot programs, for instance, in one city, before scaling your delivery service nationwide, and then using feedback to refine the model. As an employee, you can also show creativity by implementing new policies, in a way that minimizes risk to the company. Okay, so we have flexibility as well. I think I may have to wrap up at this time because unfortunately we had some glitches at the beginning of the session, so we didn't start on time. But I'm also cognizant that we promised the session would end at 7, so I don't want to take up too much time. So to wrap up, we have other entrepreneurial traits such as flexibility, planning, financial management, and leadership. Okay, so what are your next steps to apply this knowledge? You can visit, if you're interested in learning more, you can visit www.entrepreneurscan.com, identify your strengths and your areas of improvement, then create a personal development plan for 2025. So try and get a mentor, buy books on entrepreneurial mindset, enroll in courses and other formal learning activities such as this one. Okay, so I'll be happy to pause now and hand over to Clara to wrap up the session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glory. Thank you very much. Please, if you agree with me that this was a very insightful session, please let me see those applause emojis to appreciate our guest speaker. So while we are sending those, we have one question, and I have a question. Someone is asking if we can get the slides. That's your slides, Dr. Glory.
Yes,
that
sure.
can be made available to participants.
Okay, I'll be happy to share them.
Okay, great. Then my question, okay. So my question would be, what would be your one advice to people who find themselves in rigid organizations? How can they cultivate that entrepreneurial mindset for employees in very rigid organizations?
Okay, so well, I would like to use the word conservative. So
Okay.
Rigid is almost like looking at it from a negative point of view. So I think if you find yourself in a conservative environment that's not very open or receptive to change, you just need to first of all understand what's the big picture of the organization, what's their strategy, how do they measure performance, and then align whatever new initiative you're proposing in line with that. So assuming it's an organization that prioritizes profitability, and for every proposal you're making, you need to make sure you're showing the ROI and the bottom line, how it adds to the bottom line. Or if it's innovation that the organization prioritizes, you need to show how whatever initiative that you're proposing adds to product innovation in the company. So in summary, if you find that you're in a conservative organization, then you just need to align yourself with the strategy or the key performance indicators of that organization. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have another question from Mr. Oscar. He says, at what point is it okay to give up as an entrepreneur?
Wow. I think it all boils down to purpose, right? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? The literal definition of entrepreneurship is the relentless pursuit of opportunity. Emphasis on relentless. So, but I mean, while we know that, and we know, we have our ideals, we also know that sometimes the realities of the operating environment, Nigeria is a very difficult place to do business in, and sometimes you just find that the operating environment is just too harsh for you to continue. So in that case, I wouldn't say give up. I would say maybe you can pivot. You could, if entrepreneurship is core to you, it's like part of your DNA, like it's literally one of the things that gets you up in the morning and gets it. There's no shame in getting a job or going back to an organization and then reassessing the landscape and doing your homework and planning to relaunch at a later time. So I wouldn't see that as giving up or failure. I would say, you're retreating and planning to come back better. But like I said, the decision is actually a very personal one, but it all boils down to what's your purpose and what's your purpose? Why did you start the business in the first place? And if that purpose is still relevant, then I still believe that regardless of any failure, you can continue pushing until you succeed. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So a lot of people in the comment section are really grateful for the insights and they really enjoyed this session. So to pretty much summarize what Dr. Glory has said for those of us that didn't join from the very beginning, it's about going the extra mile as an entrepreneur, because she tried to make a distinction between entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. So intrapreneurs are employees, are pretty much employees in organizations that have like entrepreneurial mindsets, while entrepreneurs are those that are like starting the businesses, right? So as an entrepreneur, you should be willing to go the extra mile, and you should be willing to take ownership, right? And you should also be willing to step into the spotlight, because if you want something at some point, you have to go for it, because not everything is going to come to you, right? And then don't leave things to chance. You know how they say opportunity means preparedness. So do not leave things to chance, people. Thank you very much, Dr. Glory. So before I call on our honorable alumni president to give the closing remarks, I'd just like to make a few announcements for the upcoming events. So for members of our alumni committee, please take note of the upcoming events. In the boardroom series will be coming up on Friday, 28th of February. This exclusive event will provide select alumni the opportunity to interact and leverage experiences of chief executives and founders. As the name implies, this event usually takes place in the host's boardroom. And then next up, we'll be having International Women's Day, which will be coming up on the 8th of March, and it will be celebrated in Pan Atlantic University. Then we also have the interest group social events. This time it will be a football match between PAU students and their alumni. So it's a great opportunity to bond with students, and maybe we can just maybe use that to give the students a bowling masterclass, right? So we don't, even if it's a friendly, we can as well still win it, you know. Then the Alumni General Assembly is scheduled to hold on Saturday, the 29th of March. Please, all class presidents here, kindly take note, 29th of March is General Assembly. Then the Enterprise Day will take place on Friday, the 25th of April. This is a very fantastic event for established and aspiring entrepreneurs, like Dr. Glory said. So one thing I liked is the fact that the test we took, even those that scored, even if it's 1 to 10, there's still a budding spirit of entrepreneurship in you. Nobody is like just left alone, right? So there's still like a small spirit of entrepreneurship in you. So this might just be an event that you don't want to miss, 25th of April, the Enterprise Day. More details about this upcoming event will be communicated accordingly. Please look out for updates in your emails and class chats. So I'll now invite our Honorable Alumni President, Mr. Oscar Wilson, to give us the closing remarks.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for that Munachi. I don't know if there's honorable in front of the president. I think president is just fine, but you've done a fantastic job moderating, and well done to you. Dr. Glory, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
There seems to be like a glitch a bit. I don't know if it's from my end, but I can hear you just a bit.
Okay. Dr. Glory, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you so much for taking the time to put this together, the presentation. Very interactive. I don't know where my score lands me. I think that slide was shared earlier on, but whatever it is, I hope it's good. So thank you for reminding us. The number of people in this meeting, I'm sure needed that reminding of the core values of being an entrepreneur, and your presentation was very succinct. Thank you so much for that. And sorry about my question. It wasn't meant to start with you. If it's one thing I've learned from a lot of these entrepreneurial books and reading the stories, nobody really talks about, those times where you want to pack up shop. But like you rightly said, the focus is still there and you keep going ahead. But thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you physically, hopefully at one of our alumni events, maybe the football match if you're available. And on behalf of the whole alumni, we'd like to thank you for making the time and sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate that. Actually, over to you.
Okay, hi, thank you. Thank you very much for your remarks. Thank you very much. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, the members of the alumni committee and even people outside the alumni committee that joined us here. We're really grateful to have you. And Miss, thank you once again, Dr. Glory Enyinnaya, for spending your time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Take care.